Episode 296. Today we're talking about some standouts in yesterday's matchup between Washington and Montreal. And we obviously saw Washington break through. They won a playoff series for the first time in a handful of years, and they were able to capitalize and they were able to win the game very effectively. And they took the lead right from the first period, and from that point on, it was just all Washington for the most part, and they were able to control a majority of the possession and majority of the play, and they were doing a great job of being involved in all facets of the offensive game and just being able to create offensively off the rush and transition and inside the offensive zone. So they were doing a great job there, and they were just playing very effective overall, starting with Dylan Strome. And just his playmaking was noticeable, especially in the O zone, his ability to make plays downhill, his ability to make plays cross seam, how he can maneuver laterally, and how he's able to really leverage that within his puck skills. It would also be able to evade pressure pretty easily and be able to tactically break systems down and opposing systems down. And he was very effective. Tom Wilson, being Tom Wilson, just the physical presence, the goal scoring, the playmaking, the ability to play an all-around game was all there throughout this game. And I think that's one of his best attributes. You look at the makeup of his game and how he's able to play. And Tom Wilson's a guy who is very all around faceted, but he plays a very heavy game too. And he plays very heavy on the forward check, plays very heavy defensively, plays very heavy in many facets of the game. And I think that just allows him to be able to take control of situations with ease and does a great job and did a great job throughout yesterday's game. Jacob Chikrin was really noticeable as well. And one of the things I noticed about Jacob Chikrin, and especially within Spencer Carberry's system, is how you always notice, especially at the power play, but more so at 5-on-5, how active he is below the top of the circle and how active he is even below the bottom of the circle, of the face-off circle, that is. And when I looked into it, I thought it was really interesting because obviously we know a lot of teams systematically like to incorporate a D not only in the rush now, but also in the ozone. They like to have those Ds active in the ozone because it gives more weak side threats and it also just allows for more positional threats at every position. And instead of having the D stagnant, you could just have them moving. And Jacob Chikrin is one of the best guys at doing this. I mean, we saw it continue to get better over the course of his of the back half of his career in Arizona. And I think he's really started to turn into more of an offensive style defenseman who, even though he might not necessarily produce a ton of offensive points quite yet in his career, he had one season where he was almost a point a game. I think with Jacob Chikrin, we're going to see him evolve into a much better defenseman over the course of time. And especially in Washington, playing that system where they're so engaged offensively with their defensemen, I think that's going to be an effective way for them to be able to just contribute all around offensively from their D side. So he was really noticeable. Obviously, had a goal in this game, and I thought he was just buzzing all the way throughout this game and was really noticeable all around. Pierre-Luc Dubois, another all-around noticeable player who can play a power game, he can play a heavy game, and he can also play more reliable and more responsible defensively. And a guy who plays very heavy as well, similar to Tom Wilson in a sense where he can play super heavy, but also play really engaged offensively all the time, and obviously a bigger presence. And then Alex Ovechkin, who had a goal right off the draw, first goal of the game, and I thought he was really noticeable as well. Just scored from his office in classic Ovechkin style, and he's great. He's playing great all throughout this game as well. As for Montreal, I didn't notice too many guys. I think they really lacked depth scoring throughout this game, and that was one of the reasons why they got knocked out so early. It's just because of the lack of depth that they had and the lack of depth scoring that they had. I think. Emil Heineman was one of the guys that was noticeable, but outside of that, I didn't really notice too many guys. I think if you're expecting Montreal to try and win this game, you would expect their top players to be their top players, but their top players were not their top players throughout this game, and that was one of the reasons why they were eliminated. I thought Jakob WSH and net was very effective, just making saves and being able to try and keep them in the game and try to give them the chance. But it proved to be a little bit too much. Washington's a little bit heavier too, and they'll be on to the second round now as well.